You've probably found yourself in this situation. You think you have a real friend, only to realize they don't care about you as much as you thought. In reality, very few people have the courage to tell you directly that they don't like you. Instead, they'll just smile, give you superficial compliments, and keep their distance in subtle ways. This can be painful, but it's the truth. If you don't recognize these signs, you could waste a lot of time and energy in fake relationships where you're not truly understood. Let's take a look at the most obvious signs that someone doesn't like you but is hiding it, and why facing the truth is the best choice. The trut behind.
Have you ever felt uncomfortable when someone keeps joking about your weaknesses? Some people enjoy teasing you, especially about habits or flaws you think nobody notices. They might say, "I'm just kidding." But don't be fooled. Behind those jokes is a subtle strategy to chip away at your self-esteem bit by bit. I remember a time when I was really close to someone, and they always had something to say about me. My clothes, my way of speaking, even the projects I was working on. At first, I thought they were just harmless jokes. But then I realized something. These jokes always focused on my flaws, never my strengths. Gradually, I started to question myself. Was I really that bad? And here's the issue. The people who joke about your flaws aren't doing it because they care. They're testing how much disrespect you can tolerate. It's a subtle form of manipulation, keeping you in a lower position while avoiding any accountability because they hide behind jokes. But you don't have to stay silent. You deserve friends who don't have to put you down to feel good about themselves. When someone continues mocking you, don't hesitate to stand up and point out their disrespect. Don't let them turn you into their punching bag to boost their own self-esteem. Sometimes you need to speak up, even if it makes things awkward, because in the end, your self-respect is worth more than any thoughtless joke. Have you ever received a compliment that felt weird? You know, the kind of compliment that makes you stop and wonder, wait, is this a compliment or an insult? And the truth is, sometimes it's both. These backhanded compliments are a sneaky way for someone to undermine you while still pretending to be nice. I remember sharing a project I was really proud of with a group of colleagues. One person in the group, whom I thought was supportive, said, "Oh, this is actually pretty good for someone like you." At first, I was surprised. Yes, the comment seemed like praise, but the "for someone like you" part felt like a slap in the face. What did that mean? Was I not worthy of doing better? Here's the trick. These kinds of compliments aren't meant to make you feel good. They're a way for the other person to keep you in a lower position. It's a subtle attempt to reaffirm their superiority while making you doubt yourself. People who do this aren't confident. They're afraid you might surpass them. So they use implied comments to hold you back. You don't have to accept these kinds of backhanded compliments. When someone gives you praise that feels off, stop and ask yourself, are they really complimenting me? Or is there something more to it? You have the right to reject those words and ask for clarification. Don't let anyone define your worth with those kinds of comments. In the end, you should surround yourself with people who genuinely lift you up. Those who don't need to put you down to make themselves feel better. Have you ever encountered a friend, colleague, or even a family member who, when you share some good news, seems less than happy or even responds with silence or discomfort? This is a clear sign of a lack of support. Sure, everyone goes through tough times, but when others can't feel happy for you or celebrate your success, it says something deeper. They might be jealous, or maybe they fear that your success will make them feel inadequate. They can't stand to see you thrive because of their own insecurities. But you need to realize that's not your problem. It's theirs. Success and happiness are things we all deserve to have. When you don't get the congratulations or support you expect from the people around you, it's time to reassess those relationships. The people who truly love you will stand by you through thick and thin. Whether you're facing struggles or achieving great things, they'll rejoice with you because they understand that your success doesn't take away from their value. So, if you find yourself dealing with people who are reluctant to share in your joy and success, be cautious. Don't let their lack of support make you question yourself. You deserve to celebrate and be congratulated. The people who truly care about you will always be there, and they'll share in your happiness instead of feeling uncomfortable or upset when you succeed. We've all heard the phrase, "I'm so busy lately. Sorry I can't hang out." It sounds reasonable at first, but when you start noticing a pattern, things become much clearer. They always seem to have time for everyone else, posting photos, hanging out with friends. But when it comes to you, they're always busy. The issue isn't that they're actually too busy. They're only too busy when it comes to you. I've found myself in this situation more times than I care to admit. A friend I used to be close with would always have an excuse when I tried to make plans. "I'm working late. I have too much on my plate," or "maybe next week." But then I'd see them enjoying time with other people. It took me a long time to realize one important thing. The message they were sending was clear. I wasn't a priority in their life anymore. And that's a tough pill to swallow. We often accept busy as a legitimate excuse. But the reality is that people will always make time for the things and people that matter to them. If they're constantly busy when it comes to you, the issue isn't their schedule, it's their priorities. And that's a tough truth, because it suggests you may not be as important to them as you once thought. When someone constantly says they're busy, what they're really saying is, "I don't want to make time for you." They blame their schedule instead of admitting that they've chosen not to include you in their life. This passive-aggressive behavior keeps you at a distance without having to confront you. They want you to stay available for when they need you, but they're not actually investing in the relationship. I've been on both sides of this. Sometimes I've used the excuse of being busy because I didn't know how to admit that I had outgrown a relationship. But I've learned that honesty is key, no matter how difficult. When I confronted my friend about always being busy, the conversation was awkward but necessary. It gave me clarity and insight into where I should be investing my time. In relationships where I'm truly valued. The message here is this: your time is precious, and so is your energy. Don't waste it on people who won't make time for you. If someone is always busy when it comes to you, it's time to reevaluate the relationship. You deserve people who are genuinely happy to see you, who actually make room for you in their lives. Not just when it's convenient, but because they genuinely value your presence. Sometimes, letting go is the best way to make room for more authentic connections. Sometimes, the hurt comes from the little things, like realizing you were left out of gatherings or trips you really wanted to be a part of. These friends will make excuses, claiming it was an oversight, an impromptu plan, or even saying, you were probably too busy anyway. But what's the truth? It's not an accident. It's a deliberate exclusion, a clear sign that you're no longer a priority to them. I found myself in this situation far too many times. I once checked my phone on the weekend and saw a group of friends having a great time at an event I had really wanted to attend. To my surprise, none of them had mentioned it to me beforehand. When I casually brought it up later, they offered excuses like, "We thought you were busy," or "It was a last-minute thing." But deep down, I knew the truth. If they really wanted me there, they would have made sure I knew about the event. And here's what's important to consider. This exclusion isn't just thoughtless. It's intentional. They don't want you to join in, but they don't have the courage to be upfront about it. Instead, they want you to figure out on your own that you're not wanted, without causing any conflict. It's passive and cowardly behavior, but unfortunately, it's all too common. Many people will convince themselves it was a mistake, rather than face the uncomfortable truth that they're being deliberately left out. The problem is this: if you keep accepting those excuses, you're allowing them to dictate your place in their lives. You're letting them treat you like a second choice, something they'll call on when it's convenient for them. I've learned this lesson the hard way. At first, I kept quiet, hoping that the next time I'd be included. But eventually, I realized that by staying silent, I was allowing myself to be treated as an afterthought. So I decided to change. I started asking directly, "Hey, I saw you guys went out last weekend. Why didn't you invite me?" It was definitely an uncomfortable conversation, but it forced them to face their behavior. And you know what? The dynamic shifted. Some of them became defensive. Others tried to make up for it. But I made it clear that I wouldn't be ignored anymore. The message here is this: if someone really wants you in their life, they'll make sure to invite you, no matter how last minute the plans are. If they don't, then it's time to reassess the value of those relationships. You deserve to be surrounded by people who don't make you feel like you're constantly chasing after their attention or approval. Real friends won't forget about you. They'll make an effort to include you because they value your presence. So, if you find yourself subtly excluded, don't just brush it off. Confront the situation, ask the questions, and be ready for the answer, no matter how uncomfortable it might make you feel. Because in the end, it's better to know where you stand in a relationship than to keep wondering why you're always left out. Remember, you're not a backup plan. You deserve to be a priority. Surround yourself with those who treat you like one. Physical touch is a natural part of relationships. Not just romantic ones, but also in everyday social connections. When someone consistently avoids physical gestures like a handshake or a light pat on the back, it's a clear sign they're uncomfortable being close to you. I once had a colleague who would always pull away when I extended my hand for a handshake or offered a friendly pat on the back. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but soon I realized this wasn't just happening with me. They were perfectly fine being friendly with others. But when it came to me, they acted differently. This wasn't some quirky habit. It was a deliberate action to maintain distance. This is more than just a personal preference. It's a signal that there's a lack of connection and comfort. Some people may not like physical contact. That's fine. But when it only happens with you, it's a clear sign there's an issue in your relationship. Physical touch is a way we show trust and connection. When someone avoids physical contact with you, they're not just avoiding touch. They're avoiding closeness and intimate sharing. It shows there's distance, both physically and emotionally. If you notice this change, don't ignore it. It's a signal to reflect on your relationship. The message here is you deserve relationships where physical contact feels natural, not something to avoid. If someone continuously avoids physical contact with you, it's a sign of an underlying issue. Don't hesitate to ask the difficult questions and make the necessary decisions. Life is too short to be surrounded by people who keep their distance from you. Nothing truly tests a relationship like difficult times. It's in those hard moments that you see who your real friends are. If someone disappears when you need them the most, it's a clear sign they're not invested in the relationship as you thought. This is not only hurtful, but also a betrayal. I've experienced this firsthand when I was going through a very personal struggle. I reached out to close friends, hoping for even just a call or a text to let me know they were there for me. But the people I thought would have my back were busy with work or other reasons. No one reached out. That's when I realized they were only there for the good times. But when I really needed them, they were nowhere to be found. Let's be honest. True support isn't when everything is going smoothly. It's when things are at their worst. If someone disappears when you need them, they're not just disappointing you, they're showing you that you're not their priority. The people who really matter are the ones who stand by you when the storm hits. Keep those relationships with people who are willing to stand by you when things get tough. Don't dwell on the absence of those who can't stay around. Let them go and focus on the people who truly care and support you. Gossip is a social poison that can destroy relationships in an instant. When someone talks behind your back, they're not sharing harmless stories. They're undermining your trust and your reputation. Even if they seem friendly when you're around, if they talk negatively about you when you're not there, it shows a lack of respect. I've been a victim of gossip before. I shared a personal issue with a friend I trusted, hoping they'd keep it confidential. But within days, details from the story started being exaggerated and spread around. That friend turned my vulnerability into a joke for others. People who talk behind your back are not just venting, they're using gossip to elevate themselves and put you down without having to confront you directly. They're damaging your reputation and breaking the trust that forms the foundation of the relationship. If someone enjoys gossiping about others, they'll do the same about you when you're not around. It's a pattern, not a one-off event. These are the kinds of people you can't trust. Be cautious of them, because their betrayal can happen at any moment without you knowing. Ultimately, true relationships always require sincerity, trust, and mutual respect. If you find yourself being neglected or treated unfairly, don't be afraid to face the truth. Have the courage to let go of relationships that no longer serve you and cherish those who genuinely care. You deserve to be loved and treated well. If these points have resonated with you, don't forget to like and share this video to help others recognize important signs in relationships. Be sure to follow the channel to not miss out on meaningful stories and valuable life lessons. And if you have your own experiences or stories, feel free to leave a comment below so we can share and learn together. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.